How to enter new data into SPSS. Working with data on SPSS, you may expect to have your data ready to import from a system or a specific location in your folder. However, for some reason, you sometimes have to do it manually. There are at least 3 reasons for you to enter new data in SPSS manually: a technical error in the system, manual data collection such as paper-based survey, and the need for additional parameters such as filter and weight. For some reason, the system may experience unexpected interruption in data capture or data transfer. Such an interruption may corrupt the data. As a result, data may come with missing values or be completely unavailable. In other cases, the system may be up and running as expected. However, due to the research methodology such as mixed method research combining face-to-face, over-the-phone, and online interviews, data may come from various sources. In CAPI, CATI, and CAWI, you may have the data ready to import from the system. However, in PAPI, you may need to enter the data manually. Another inevitable event is when your analysis requires additional parameters such as filter and weight. While it is possible to tell SPSS to create it automatically, you may want to enter the value based on your calculation somewhere else. Having these scenarios in mind, you can now prepare to enter new data into SPSS following the simple steps. As you open the SPSS, you will see a dialog box pops up. Point your cursor to the top left corner and select New Dataset to create a new one. Alternatively, if in any case where you have a file open but want to add the data to a new one, you can go to the left corner and select File, New Data. An SPSS Data Editor comprises 2 page views, namely Data View and Variable View. Add a new variable by typing in the first row of the empty column. To add another one, continue to the next on the right. On the variable view, you can see the setting for each variable. The first column is the variable name. By default, data generated from a system such as survey platform comes with variable names starting from VAR00001. While it is possible to work with default names, renaming the variable is advisable for easier identification. To rename the variable on SPSS, double-click and type the new name manually. Keep in mind that SPSS considers blank space and symbols illegal. For a variable name consisting of at least 2 words, you need to remove the blank space. You can start each word with a capital letter and use number. Alternatively, you can use underscore for an easier read. In SPSS, there are 9 types of variables: numeric, comma, dot, scientific notation, date, dollar, custom currency, string, and restricted numeric. Numeric variable includes continuous numbers with decimals in the measurement unit, whole numbers without decimals in the counting unit, and specific numbers assigned to coded categorical variables. Unlike the continuous and whole numbers, the numbers assigned to coded categorical variables are not for arithmetic calculations such as addition and multiplication. The comma is for numeric variables using commas to separate groups of 3 digits and a period for the decimals. The dot is for numeric variables that use periods to separate every 3 digits and a comma for the decimals. The scientific notation is for numeric variables that come with power signs E or D. The date is for numeric variables displayed in any standard calendar date or clock time formats. This includes blank spaces, commas, hyphens, periods, and slashes. The dollar is for numeric variable that come with the dollar sign before the numbers. It usually uses comma to separate every group of 3 digits and a period for the decimals. The custom currency is for numeric variables displayed in a custom currency format defined in the variable type. Even though you can see it in the data editor, it is not usable during the data entry. The string is for alphanumeric variable that use a combination of numbers, letters, and symbols. This includes zip codes, telephone numbers, and answers to open-ended questions in surveys. The restricted numeric is for numeric variables restricted to non-negative integers in standard format or scientific notation. In SPSS refers to the maximum number of digits or characters displayed in data view. Except for the date and string, you can set it when identifying the variable type. However, if you miss it, you can do it by clicking on the up and down arrow. Alternatively, you can double-click on the cell and type manually. The decimals are the number of digits displayed after the decimal point. The setting applies to all variables except the string and restricted numeric. Similar to the width, the decimals are also configurable in variable identification. If you miss it, you can double-click and type manually. The label is the variable name used in visualization. Unlike the one you previously set, it accepts blank space and symbols. This way, the audience can better understand the final output of your analysis. Click on the selected cell and type manually. Values and labels are applicable for numeric and string variables. When you click on the cell, a dialog box will pop up. Point your cursor to the plus button. A new row with 2 columns will appear. Type the value on the left and the label on the right. Follow the same steps to add more. As previously mentioned, a technical error in the system, such as unexpected interruption in data capture or data transfer, may create missing values. A human error, such as failure to input the data correctly or complete a task as required, may add more. For such reasons, you have 3 options. Click on No Missing Values when you are sure there is no missing value. Click on Discrete Missing Values when you know the missing values and there are maximum 3 missing values. Click on Range plus 1 optional discrete missing values when there are more than 3 missing values. To capture all codes, type the minimum and maximum values. As you finish coding the missing values, click OK. Column in SPSS refers to the width of the column used for data entry. To configure the columns, click on the up and down arrow. Alternatively, you can double-click on the cell and type manually. The measure applied to a variable determines the suitable treatment and statistical test. Depending on the type of the variable, it can be scale, nominal, or ordinal. The measure for continuous and whole numbers, for example, is scale. It is suitable for addition, multiplication, and other arithmetic calculations. Interchangeable numbers used to describe categorical variables are nominal. Meanwhile, numbers used to rank categorical variables are ordinal. Both are not suitable for arithmetic calculation. To assign a measure to a variable, click and select one. There are several roles in SPSS. An independent variable serves as an input to predict the dependent variable. It is the predictor. Meanwhile, the dependent variable is the output. Some variables may serve as both input and output. It means they can be intermittently independent and dependent. Some others may not play any role at all. A variable that serves as a partition will separate the data into several subsets or smaller samples. This role is necessary for training, testing, and validation in data modeling. As you finish configuring the setting for each variable in the variable view, go back to data view to add a new case for your dataset. To add a new case, start in an empty row and go from left to right. Here, you can type in either the values or the labels. With labels, you need to make sure that you type accurately. Any inconsistency in wording, punctuation, or use of symbols may confuse the SPSS and compromise your analysis. As an alternative to manual entry, you can click on the drop-down button and select one of the values or labels. It depends on your view setting. In SPSS, you can view dataset by either values or labels. To change the view from labels to values or vice versa, click on this button. There are 4 ways to save dataset in SPSS. First, click Save to save dataset as is. Second, click Save As to have the copy in different file types such as .csv. Third, click Export to store the dataset for analysis in other tools such as SAS and STAT. Last but not least, click this X button on the top right corner to close the file. Save dataset as is. Click File Save. SPSS will save the dataset in default type .sav. To have the dataset in different file types, click File Save As. SPSS allows you to select any or all of the 47 supported file types. To store the dataset for separate analysis using other tools, click File Export. Currently, you can choose to export the dataset. The Export button also allows you to select any or all of the 47 supported file types. Unlike the Save As button that saves the full dataset, the Export button lets you choose only relevant variables. When you click OK, the SPSS will open a new window displaying details of variables exported. By default, SPSS will have the dataset by alphanumerical names starting with Dataset 1, Dataset 2, and so on. To rename, click File, Rename. In the empty field on the pop-up window, type in a descriptive name. To close, click the X button. Consequently, SPSS will show a dialog box asking for your confirmation to proceed. Before clicking, please make sure you have already saved any change made. For more insights into data analysis and SPSS, please subscribe, listen, and watch. All content by